Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm going on a diet. So what does that mean? That means I've got to give up some of the foods, at least for a while, that I really enjoy. And one of my favorite foods, as you guys have seen from my videos, are biscuits. Well, those are full of carbohydrates and not good for you if you're trying to lose weight. So I found a recipe that calls for almond flour. So these biscuits will have almost no carbohydrate count in them at all. This bag costs $12. I might be able to get 2 batches of biscuits, so those are pretty pricey biscuits. But if they taste worth the darn, it'll be a good workaround for me. I won't eat near as many as I used to, but these will probably be pretty good with biscuits and gravy. There's not much sweet I can put on them. I might try a little bit of honey just for this taste test, but we're going to give it a shot. So let me reposition my camera and we'll try and build some biscuits out of this almond flour. So for this low carb biscuit recipe, calls for 2.5 cups of almond flour. In here I've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. Got 2 large eggs that I've whisked together, 1/4 cup of milk, and 3 tablespoons of butter, which I had placed that stick of butter in the freezer so I could firm it up a bit to be able to grate it. So that's 3 tablespoons, and we're going to mix all the dry ingredients together here. Just work it around with my fork. I do have my 10-inch Dutch oven on the heat getting ready, and I'll make drop biscuits out of this because everything I've read says that they don't make real good cut biscuits. So we'll try the drop biscuits. So there's the dry ingredients. Now I'll add the butter. Yeah, it's getting kind of sticky here. And what I'll do is mix this around in the flour to try and coat these different pieces of butter, little shreds of butter, so that they will be all throughout the flour, not just in one clump. And you just kind of got to go by how it looks. All right. Now I'm going to throw in these 2 eggs. And the milk. Kind of reminds me of cornmeal. All right. So like I said, I'm going to use the Dutch oven. I'm going to have it on heat about 350 degrees for about 15 minutes is what the recipe calls for. So let me get that Dutch oven in here from the heat, and we'll put a little Crisco in there, and I'll show you how I do drop biscuits. So I've got the Dutch oven, which is nice and hot, resting on a slant, and I'll show you why. I like to take Crisco and run it around the inside of my oven. And I want to have enough so there's a little bit of a pool of this molten Crisco. And this will do 2 things for me. I'm going to take, as I spoon this biscuit dough into this Dutch oven, I'm going to roll it in that grease. And that'll keep the biscuits from sticking together, I hope. At least that's how it works with a regular biscuit. And it'll help brown, it'll fry the bottoms just a little bit and make that nice brown, crunchy color and texture that you look for in a nice biscuit. So let's give this a shot. This dough is very lightweight. All right. I guess we're 15 minutes away to seeing what kind of mess we made. In the heat they go.
I've had these guys cooking for about 17 minutes, 350 degrees. They look like biscuits. They didn't grow near as much as a flour-based biscuit normally would, but nonetheless, let's shovel them out of here and see how they taste.
So it's been a minute since we pulled those biscuits out of the Dutch oven. When they were nice and hot, I put some butter on them, made a little bit of honey on one, and it didn't taste too bad. Consistency, the texture is a little different, kind of like cornmeal. So that's what I kept telling myself in my head. And so I had some again the next day. They weren't near as good. Although it says in some of the information that I've read about biscuits made with almond flour, it says you can keep them in the fridge for up to a week and then freeze them for an extended period of time. I wasn't too crazy about them on the second day. If you had jam or honey on them, which I'm not eating right now because once again I'm trying to frickin' lose weight, it'd probably help them out quite a bit. Now we did have biscuits and gravy, so we had tried to make kind of a low carb gravy with some sausage. And we had that on the biscuits yesterday, and it tasted just fine. So, once again, the flavor was masked pretty well with that sausage gravy. A little bit about the flour made of almonds. So this is made of blanched almonds, and that's the only ingredient in this bag, which is pretty cool. As far as carbohydrates go, I figured out there's probably about 3 or 4 carbs per biscuit. It isn't too bad. I got 8 biscuits out of that first batch and used half of this bag. And this bag cost me almost $13. So that'll tell you how much your biscuits are going to be, about 75 cents a piece. Quite a bit more expensive than a standard old biscuit made of flour. But once again, we're trying to cut carbs, and this seemed to do it. So once again, you'll probably get about 16 biscuits out of this bag. 16 biscuits, 75 cents a piece. It's not horrible. And when you're weeks or months into this low carb diet thing, you start really craving some things that you haven't been eating, like biscuits. So I gave them a try, and I'm glad I did. And I'll cook them again before I'm done with this diet. Because once again, with a little bit of honey and some nice melted butter, they tasted pretty good. They weren't near as light and fluffy as a standard biscuit made out of flour. I didn't expect them to be more like a cornmeal or a corn muffin, something made of cornmeal. But give it a shot. It sure beats going without that treat while you're on these diets. And I have found, going on and off diets throughout my entire life, that if I can have something a little special, a little bit of a treat every so often, I'm much more liable to stick to the diet and lose weight. So there you go, gang. Biscuits from almond flour. Give it a shot. Not horrible. I kind of enjoyed them. So we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.